It's working. Yes. Finally did it. Oh my God.
Oh wow, that mutes across everything. Okay, well, good thing we weren't talking about anything important yet, because
Yeah. We've
wow.
done that before.
Ooh, too high, too much. Okay, yeah, because I was, yeah, I did a check of Justin's, but I didn't do a check of mine. I haven't even poured my whis. I am so off today. Like, I got this new machine today, right? So that we can stream 1080. So, Andrew, are you getting 1080? Is it smooth? Please tell me. And
Is that the Andu 227?
yeah, and do 227. Sign up for Yada with
Yes.
that code, and you'll get nothing. Um, and like it's so sad. This is the last of the Henry McKenna
That's
here.
why I'm not drinking mine tonight, because I'm pretty close to finishing my Henry McKenna.
But I have the High West Rendezvous to move on to, so it's okay.
Oh, that's right. You recently got an entire
I
bar.
have like a full on bar back here, but oh, he said stream quality is great. Hey, we did it. So
Yes.
I got this $3,000 MacBook, right, so that we can stream good stuff, right? It shows up today. It wasn't supposed to show up till Friday. And I'm on a call with Andrew earlier, and I just like sprint to the door to go grab it. So I'm setting it up like all day, and then I finally get to the point where I can kind of cut over to it at like 5 o'clock, and I got to go pick up Jake. So I like am just getting it like all set up and all of this stuff, and then yeah, so I'm like scrambling after I put them down for bed, like getting OBS all set up, getting all this audio stuff set up, right? Like so it's been a hectic day, dude. A
Just
hectic
running
day.
around.
Yeah. But these photos look great, don't they? Here.
Yeah, the backdrop that you have is very on point. Now, where is the light?
Trogrock.darkroom.tech if you would like to all right, you want to see where the light is? Hold on.
Yeah.
It's just this.
No. I know you can't hear me right now, but it's great placement.
It's literally just a light sitting on my couch.
It's great placement.
It's one of my film lights sitting on the couch, and I love these lights. These are the lights that we bought back when we were doing that client shoot for Green Bits. Quotes.
Oh yes. So
Quotes was weird. Quotes did, like it made it sound really sketchy. It wasn't sketchy, just like didn't really turn into anything. But I love them because they're like full like daylight to super warm adjustable. So like that is set at like I don't know 3,500 Kelvin, and this one's up at 6,500. So I get like this nice like super orange background. I love it.
yeah, it matches the light in the corner. I don't know where I am on the screen, but it
No,
looks
that's
like it's over
exactly
there.
it. You got it. You nailed it. Nailed it.
Yes.
Yep, nailed it.
Subscribe to Trae's channel right here.
Yeah, because everyone else in the world is. This was an
Yeah.
insane week.
Dude,
An
I think that's a big
absolutely
update.
insane week.
We got to talk about the great shout out that you received.
Dude, so insane. Um, wow. Like, okay, so the story, right? So I think the story's funny because I got a decent number of comments on that video saying, "Oh man, you must spend so much time on this," right? So I think the story,
Oh
the
yeah.
context is really funny, right? So I've been on this releasing a video every week. My time is 2:45 p.m. Eastern time on Monday. Every week since you and I had that one podcast, we decided to release every week, right? And I've hit every one for like 6 weeks straight. A couple of weeks I've been really behind. Like I normally write the outline on Tuesday, film on Friday, try and edit on Friday also. If not, I edit on the weekend or Monday morning. That's not too rushed. But some of the weeks, like this, let's see, not last weekend, the weekend before, I didn't get anything done. So like Monday morning comes, I don't wake up early like I normally do. I sit down at the computer like 8 o'clock and I'm like, I got to release a video today. So I look at my idea list. The next one up is my fuck your emergency account video, which is dropping on Monday. I just finished that today, so I'm super proud of myself for being super early. But I'm
Dude,
like,
you're ahead of schedule.
there's no way that I can get that done and edited and rendered and uploaded in that amount of time. There's just no way. There's too much that needs to go into it. So I'm like going down the list, and I find this video that is just it's like, I spent $1,500 on MeetKevin's courses so you didn't have to. Right? It's a review of MeetKevin's courses. You know, the title and thumbnail is implying that I'm gonna say negative things, but it's all crazy positive things, right? So I sit down, I throw that together. I literally get it finished uploading at 2:43. Like, it's not even done processing HD when it uploads. Like, it uploads and it's like 480p, right? So that's great. It does like, it was a 1 of 10. Like, it's doing better than my other videos. But like, well, actually, I have it right here. On day 2 of that video releasing, it was like at 48 views, right? So better than average, but not like anything astounding. But so then I'm in the Discord for MeetKevin, and he's got this room for feedback, testimonials, and something else. And I'm thinking like, it could potentially help to put it there. Some people might see it. I don't like posting my video in places where like people are going to go and like subscribe just because like they're trying to help out your channel. Like, you want subscribers that are active, right? So like,
Yeah.
I wasn't counting on too much from that channel. So I posted it up there, and I'm like, hey, Kevin, I thought you'd like to see this. If this is not the place for this, just fucking delete it, because I also don't want to be like that spammy guy, right? But I thought like you'd be interested in seeing this, and here you go. So that was that. And then like a couple hours later, he replied to me in that chat room and said that it's, what did he say? I need to find this real quick.
It's incredible.
Okay, so here you go. It's cool because I haven't scrolled down in this channel, so it was right there. He said, appreciate that. Seriously, though, keep posting. Your intro is perfect. Your hook is great. You speak clearly, and you're concise. Good job. So I'm like, wow. That's like the best thing that could have ever happened from me posting
great
this video,
feedback, dude.
right?
Yeah.
Like, I saw that. I'm like, this is like the greatest thing in the entire world. Success was had by posting here. But then he's got this room that is news alerts from Kevin. Is a room that he is the only one allowed to post in. And then he posts my video in there. Everyone, whether you're a course member or not, can see this channel in the Discord, and he tags everyone. So everyone gets a notification for this. And it says, this review on my course came out of nowhere. Go support Trae. He's really solid on camera. Great potential. Get him to 300 subs. And he links my video. And then there's all these like Discord reactions. I'm like, whoa, that's nuts. I'm on a call. Andrew can attest to this. I'm on a call with Andrew. My phone just starts like kind of blowing up. I run to the bathroom because I got to take a dump, right? And Andrew probably thinks I'm taking the most epic dump in the entire world. But it turns out I'm just replying to comments. Like, there's comments and views coming in all over the place. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And then one comment comes in, and it's like, hey, just hear from MeetKevin's Instagram. Wanted to say hi or something like that. And I reply back, I'm like, his Instagram? And so I pop over to Instagram, and he put that video in his story. Similar messaging, and it was one of those swipe ups to go straight to the video.
Perfect.
So like, it got slammed. Like, all of Thursday, it was just like shot through the roof. I immediately passed you in subscribers, which was amazing. That was my only goal, was to get past you in subscribers.
You like freaking blew by me.
So I got like, I don't remember exactly how many, but it was like 40 or 50 maybe new subscribers in that first day or two. And then on Friday, like, the number of views died down quite a bit. Like, it plateaued, right? Like, it did exactly what I expected it to do. But then what I didn't expect to happen was on Saturday morning, I woke up and checked my phone, and the YouTube algorithm like just shot it through everyone's pages. Like, you can see on the graph that it's just like up from MeetKevin. It goes kind of flat, and then it just like shoots up, and it's just like straight up from there
It's like
for
a
the next
wall.
like
I
4
remember
days.
seeing it.
Like today's the first day that I'm even kind of seeing any sort of like plateauing at all. And even still, I can't quite tell if it's plateauing. So this video now has over 12,000 views. It actually might be at 13,000 now. I passed 10,000 last night. Last night when I was watching it,
Dang.
the number of views like per minute were so predictable. I was able to predict to the minute when I was going to cross 10,000, which was crazy.
So just today, it's got like 2,000 to 3,000 views.
Since see what Andrew, what time did I message you that last night? Man, we talked too much.
Yeah, Trae was messaging, tweeting. I saw the tweet last night too.
No. Cat's had it the worst though. He had it the worst. So at 9:16 p.m., I messaged him. Also, I should be clear, I was a little buzzed last night. I was watching Battlestar Galactica by myself, drinking, and it was a great time. But then I realized this was happening. So 9:16 p.m., I message him, 135 away. 9:28, I message him, 100 away. And then I messaged these too close so they don't even say what time on each one. But at 9:40, I start 50, 25. I explain to him why he's getting all these updates. I'm a little buzzed, and he's the OG troublemaker. And then I say 10, 5, 2, 1, boom. So he gets all the messages. You just got one. So count yourself lucky.
And maybe I should actually sign up using Andrew's code now.
Yeah, right? But yeah, it was nuts. So I've now over doubled my subscribers. Before we got on this call, I think I was at 489. And I was like, when this launched, I was around, it was like 230, 240. Like you were at 250. I remember that because I was like, oh, okay, this could boost me past Justin. That's all I cared about. It's getting past Justin. That's the only thing.
You like got next to me and then you turned on the NOS.
Now I have
hit the button.
Now I've added in the last week more subscribers than you have.
Yeah, fuck you.
It's been insane, but it's really like exciting. It's like I feel like I've been like just heads down, like pushing the stuff out, like hoping that maybe one day it'll like turn into something. Maybe not. Maybe it's just like I like making videos. I don't know. This is like the first glimpse where I feel like I could actually turn this into something, and it's really exciting. And that's why I have a video done like by the time I normally just have an outline done. And I already have one other outline written. I might record another one this week.
It's like it's validation, which is phenomenal.
Yes.
And then it's also just like it's well deserved too, because your video production and everything is like it's very quality, and it's been quality for a while because you've been making videos for so long. Also, fuck you, but it's phenomenal.
Well, so I actually
it's very well deserved.
I had a YouTube comment in there, like someone that's also trying to get their channel off the ground is like, you know, saying like, oh, like my videos are really long and rambly and this and that. And I messaged her and I'm like, go back and look at some of my early videos. Like I have now to date made, I think 178 videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot of videos. And
you committed a while ago to making them.
In that time, my main focus has been on like cinematography and production quality. And only like in the last 6 months, maybe a year, have I really been focused on content value and like getting into the niche of finance. So like the Ally Bank video was my first like big video that really focused my channel on like the niche of finance. Before that, it was kind of all over the place. It was like, you know, the same thing everyone does on YouTube. It's like motivation or filmmaking, and like it's kind of all over the place. So like it made sense why I didn't get any traction. But yeah, I've made a shit ton of videos, and now like, and because I did so many like daily vlogging, I have like the repeatable, fast, efficient processes from daily vlogging. Plus now I have like the set here, right? Like, especially now that I have my new computer, like filming a video is really easy. Well, I mean, I did that this morning. So I actually filmed the Fuck Your Emergency Account video twice. The first time I filmed it, I got halfway through and realized I didn't finish the outline. So I just kind of winged it the second half. Yeah. And that is not a good idea. Don't do that. And then, so I was a little uncomfortable about it at that point because like it didn't feel good, you know? You know when you record those videos and you're like, wow, that felt awesome. That was the second take of this video. But then also at the end of the video, I went to turn my light back down because I don't leave it blasting this high all day, but I do leave it on. And then I realized it wasn't turned up all the way, so my lighting was not quite right. So I'm like, so then I went and recorded it again. So Andrew and I were supposed to be pairing on some work, like coming up soon. I'm like, how soon are you gonna be here? Because I need to record another video. So like, I can literally in 15 minutes record a 8-minute video, like start to finish with like setting everything up, right? Because my camera is permanently mounted here on this wall now. So I added a checklist so I don't forget anything anymore. So I use this microphone. I plug this recorder into that microphone to record it. Some of this stuff's going away with the new computer. I reach back behind this camera, flip it to manual focus because the focus shift with these windows cause a lot of like focus drift on the GH4. And then I turn my light up and I hit record. And then I just go. So it doesn't take much work at this point, which is nice because then I can just focus on like the actual content. And like today, if it was a lot of work to set up a video, I might not have taken a second take on it. And I think the second take was well worth it. So tonight's episode of the YouTube Illiterates.
The YouTube Illiterates.
Yeah.
Although slowly becoming more literate.
I would say. So one, MeetKevin's course has been really valuable. I've probably only watched 2/3 of the content. I am finished with the course, but I only watched 2/3 of it because a third of it is like camera settings and editing and audio settings. It's like one, like I don't agree with half the stuff he tells you to do. Like he tells you to record in 30 frames, and you shouldn't do that. You should record in 24:9:8 because actually maybe this will drive you insane. Next time you watch one of his videos, notice when he does this with his hands, they feel choppy. And that's because he's at 30 frames with too high of a shutter speed.
Oh.
If you do 24:9:8, 23:9:8, I think it's 23.98. That's like the cinematic frame rate. And then you put your shutter speed at 50 or 60, depending on what your camera will do. I think I have mine at 60. Looks beautiful. Looks amazing.
Now, what is that doing? Is it just capturing more? Because it's not like the fast movement doesn't throw it off.
His is capturing more.
Oh.
So
because his is shooting 30 frames.
Yeah, so
you're doing 23:9:8.
Yeah, you always want to do your shutter speed, which is how quickly the shutter closes. The longer it's open, the more blur you'll get. More motion blur you'll get. The faster, the less motion blur. You always want to do twice your frame rate. So he's doing 30, get a 60 frame or 60 shutter speed. I do 23, 24, and I get like a 50, 60. So you get a little more motion blur just from the shutter speed, but also just that frame rate, the way that our eyes piece things together, there's a little more blur in it. It's the difference between like you've seen like the newer TVs that have like a super high refresh rate that I hate. They're like 120 hertz refresh rate and everything feels like almost artificial in the way it moves. Oh,
that's the I think the Samsung TVs have that, because the first time I saw one, it looked weird. I was like, I've seen this movie before, or I've seen this show before, but something seems really off. Yeah. And it was just the TV.
It's the same sort of concept.
Yeah. I had no idea that's what it was.
Drag a little bit more, and you just don't even notice it till it doesn't. Then you'll notice it.
Then I can't unsee it.
Oh, jeez, my wife just scared the crap out of me. I just see like something sort of moving outside, and then a light shines in my face. So, thanks, hon. It's okay. She doesn't watch any of my content.
I wish she did watch. I wish she did watch this so she would mess with you.
No, she doesn't. She doesn't even like pretend that she's going to watch any of my content.
Oh, well, same.
So yeah, that happened. I got the Fuck Your Emergency Account video done and recorded, and I'm like super excited about that video because like last two videos have been focused on like gaining subscribers and like what Kevin calls Trojan horsing into like news topics or onto other creators. Yeah, this one's like evergreen content that I feel is unique and a very different and probably controversial perspective on the emergency fund. And it also starts with a great fucking intro. Literally, Also, for those watching the podcast, you'll get a kick out of this because I almost had to go back and reshoot the intro. I decided to just leave it in because of exactly what I say. I'm like, what's up, guys? So everyone is telling you to save 3 to 6 months of expenses in an emergency fund in the bank. And I'm here to tell you to go fuck your emergency fund. I meant to say, I'm here to tell you to fuck your emergency fund.
Oh,
But I threw a 2 in there. So like, if you hear it just right, it sounds like I'm telling you to actually fuck your emergency fund.
I've got a great thumbnail idea.
The thumbnail is going to be good too.
It's like you behind a piggy bank.
I had it in Premiere and I played it the first time and I'm like, that might sound wrong. And like, there's a lot more pressure now that there's like almost 500 people watching it. Like,
And is that when you definitely check the box of this is not for children?
yeah, right. But I left it in, so it was a fun intro. I recorded it and I'm like, oh, that was fun. That's like one of the more edgy things I've done in a video in a while.
Oh.
I don't ever cuss in my main channel. I bleeped it out, to be clear. I bleeped it out, but
Okay.
because, monetization is maybe a 2021 goal.
I think you'll get there before 2021.
I think it's very possible. I keep like trying to keep my hopes down, But
Well,
like,
because you'll have at least.
I think I might cross 500 during this podcast because I just checked.
You'll
I'm at 492.
You'll have what, like maybe around 10 more videos posted by the end of the year.
Oh, and that video crossed 13,000.
Boom.
It's insane. It's truly been insane, and like I just keep waiting for it to stop, But like while it's like hyped up and going, I'm gonna just like keep the pedal pressed to the floor.
You gotta ride the wave.
Which, speaking of YouTube, I loved your video.
You like that one.
I really liked
you.
it. And it gave me a couple of ideas for some content for you. And I don't know if you'll want to do any of that sort of content, but I found it really interesting because when I first started watching the video, I'd already known that you did the drifting thing, and I thought it was going to be more of like a why that was fun or what you learned and stuff. I thought it was really fascinating that you did it for the purpose of increasing your track time. I thought that was a great idea and so interesting.
Yeah, it's really the course itself put on by Fast Sideways is it's very uncommon nowadays because you either have like drifting events or road course track events and not much in between. Maybe there's autocross, but nothing where it like combines both.
Uh-huh.
I guess you could say Gymkhana, but like this is even more niche than that because you're using principles from drifting and Gymkhana to go faster on the racetrack, like most professional race car drivers, even like F1 would do. And it's run by a guy who was, I think it was US Touring Car Championship, but he won that championship a year or two ago. He's got a pretty good YouTube channel too, that he does a lot of stuff on his own racing and driving, but he's actually gained a following because he does a lot of sim racing and reviews. So Nick Romano is the guy's name, but this course itself is like, it's taking everything from drifting and Gymkhana and applying it and teaching you it so that you can go faster on the racetrack.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like it.
Really fascinating. And then there was a certain point where you talked about trail braking.
Trail braking.
Yeah. Trail braking. And one, I think, I got thinking, I'm like, oh man, you should do a video just like explaining what that is. But then I thought it would be really interesting. So, we were talking the other day about how like the videos like you did just now, it takes a little bit to put together. What if you also had like like another series? Like you had the sort of out and about ones, and you also had like almost like in the studio ones that are like teaching / giving your perspective on like race and track theory. Like a whole video on like what trail braking is, how to use it, when you've used it, what it was like when you didn't use it, like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think that would be really fascinating because I I love the idea of racing, and I remember that racing school that I went to was so interesting when I learned like how to take the turns, like just the lines on the turns.
Yeah.
Like I think that's really interesting, and it's not something that like the normal person or even like the car enthusiast probably even know.
Yeah,
And
there's
it
and it
might be
goes
simpler
back.
content to put together.
Yeah, and it I think it would just be like a research video, and that one would be good to have. I like those ideas because that one would be good to have. Like, I could have Nick on.
Yeah.
I could make a video with him.
Yeah, that'd be interesting
Um,
too to have like a pro like almost teach it to you. And then there's some that I think like you probably know well enough that you just teach yourself. Yeah.
yeah, I have a feeling like the basics. Like, I could explain to someone how to learn. You're talking
Yeah.
about learning the line of the track.
Uh-huh.
I think that's something I at least feel qualified to teach. I need some more practice on like the trail breaking and that other stuff because I
Uh-huh.
just really learned how to capitalize on it. But
Yeah,
yeah,
but
I
even
think
that, like when I watched that
dude, I
video,
think it's interesting.
I thought what was interesting, and some of this is what I got out of Meet Kevin's course, is like when I watch that video, I see 3 follow-up videos. Right? Like there's a video where because like you kind of went high level on this. Like, what about a video that was like specifically like the top 3 things you learned that led to your success that day? And then there's another one on like
Yep.
what you learned about trail breaking and what you still need to know about trail breaking.
Yep.
You know, like there's multiple videos come out of that one video. And then on YouTube, you know, you can link those at the end of the video. Why did you leave so much dead space at the end of that video?
I did.
Oh my God. Yeah, there's like 45 seconds of just black with just music.
Oh, that was not intentional.
Okay. I figured it wasn't intentional. I gave you the watch time anyways, but like no one else is
Oh,
getting
thank you.
it.
Oh, that is kind of weird actually. I think I know what happened. Something in Final Cut, but
Yeah,
it's not
save you
Final
for
Cut's
using
fault. It's
for
my
Final
fault.
Cut. Final Cut's the worst.
I love Final Cut.
Uh,
Too much of a learning curve, especially if you're used to iMovie. I
if
could
you're used to
honestly just use
iMovie, I
iMovie.
totally get it because like if I was to jump into Final Cut, that I actually tried Final Cut once, and I'm like, this is way too much of a learning curve.
Yeah, I could just use iMovie for most of my stuff, or all of my stuff, really, because I'm not doing anything real crazy
Yeah, there's also
with my
DaVinci
videos.
Resolve, which I've heard good things about. But we should probably steer this away from YouTube creator content and a little bit more towards finance at some point. Oh, so I've been doing this new thing on Reddit where I am like flagging stories that I think are interesting to go back
Oh,
over. Now, what's funny is I don't actually know how to get back to those. I'm now realizing. How do I find those? I legitimately don't know how to do that. Is it like in my profile? Saved. There it is. Got it. Oh, okay. Here's an interesting question. I think this would be interesting to ask future guests on the podcast as well. But you have nothing but $5,000. How would you use that money to move and start over?
you have $5,000.
Yep. You've lost everything except for $5,000. What do you
Oh,
do?
I see. So you're like bankrupt.
Yep.
Wow, that's a good question.
I thought it was
Not
very
something
interesting.
not something I usually think about. If it's just my current situation, it's like I think it'd be tough, but I'd have to go somewhere where it's really cheap to live.
Yep.
I'd probably have to move in with a family member or something like that for a little bit. But $5,000 to start, like I've had okay success with, I mean, like the GaryVee approach, like garage sailing, just to build a little buffer capital.
Mm-hmm.
So I would maybe start there
Yeah.
until maybe I hit a certain point where I'm like, alongside with that, maybe search for another job or something like that. But it would have to be like practical ways of making money to start. this is a great exercise.
Yep.
Um,
Sure is.
it would be probably like the garage sailing approach.
Yeah.
What about you? I mean, your situation, you got kids and a wife, and
Yeah, no, that definitely. I think it throws a bit of a wrench, but not a massive one. Like I think the most obvious thing is to move back to Florida, live with my parents for a bit, um, probably like rent or buy a house very soon. When it comes to like a job, I think I would take advantage of the fact that I had to start over, and I would try and get a paid or unpaid internship with someone that I really wanted to learn from. Like the GaryVee approach, where like you just go and offer to like, you know, just be Elon
shadow,
Musk's
yeah,
coffee boy. You know,
yeah.
like I mean, I've thought about that a bunch of times on a bunch of different people, and it doesn't make sense where I'm currently at to like give everything up for that alone. But if that was already given up, like, any businesses that I have going, any paychecks that I have, like if all of that was already gone, I think I might start there. And then I'd probably have to have like an hourly job or whatever. I mean, let's assume that I can keep my engineering knowledge, and then I would do like consulting alongside
Yeah.
of it, to pay the bills. But that's probably where I would go, is like I would try and get like an internship with like I don't know, who would I like trying to get an internship with? Like, not Elon Musk. I think that would be interesting, but not Elon Musk. Actually, GaryVee would be my number one target. I would offer to pay to work for GaryVee. I think I could learn like an actual shit ton from him.
Yeah.
That's probably where I'd
You
start.
could just follow him around all day.
Yeah.
You'd be his coffee guy, the drink
100%.
guy.
Yeah, and he's got this theory that in 10 years you're going to see people paying to do stuff like that. And I for sure would.
I like how we both have taken like a Gary V, like
Yeah.
something from Gary V to restart if it came down to it.
Yeah, I mean,
It
you
would
got to
be
go back to the
moving
basics,
somewhere.
right? And like GaryVee is probably one of the biggest sources of content in my life about just like continuing to stay at the basics,
Right.
But like,
No, that is
and it's
actually
that
really
sort of thing.
interesting.
Like, it would be a huge bummer, but it doesn't scare me. Like that doesn't scare me, and that's why I feel like I can be as risk tolerant as I am. The second that starts scaring me, I need to back off on my risk.
I think it would scare me. It depends by age, because there's a certain age where I feel like if I have to go back to zero, then it's like it's dangerous, and it might be even harder to recover from. But right now, I don't think it would suck. But I think there's time for recovery.
Yeah. So Brian's Boring Life 87 said Graham Stephan did that. Granted, with the YouTube delay, I'm not 100% sure what he's referencing. So I hit him up in chat. But we have someone actually watching the podcast. So welcome,
Hey,
Brian's Boring Life 87.
I'm sure it's not boring.
No, I mean, you're probably not sitting in a basement talking with someone drinking by yourself. So
I know.
Congratulations.
Across the country. Something that I've seen. There's a guy. You remember the gym we used to go to, Westka in San Jose?
Yeah, I like that gym.
There's a guy. I miss that gym a lot and the people there, to be honest. There's a guy that I met there who's also into cars. He ended up leaving California as well. He moved to Colorado, bought a house. He built a Shelby Cobra replica in his garage.
Dream of mine.
And he like disappeared from social media for a while. And I was like, fuck, like this dude in general, a lot of his content was fascinating just on like Instagram. And he just came back and sharing stuff over the last few weeks. But what he's been doing and what he's getting ready to release on Halloween is a new weekly vlog. But what I noticed in like the previews he was sharing was that he actually hired someone to film him and like document his life. And I'm like, that's like very GaryVee style, but
It's a
also
it's a
it
very
was
common
it was
thing now
nice.
too, ever since Gary got that going.
And I'm like watching it, I'm like I enjoy it more so that style because it's more like watching actual TV show, and the production, everything looked very nice, and
Yep.
the content's interesting to me because it's a lot of exercise stuff and fitness and then cars. So
Yeah, I mean that's where Ryan
like
Serhant started out, right? He kind of took the Gary Vee model and had someone follow him around. Now he's got a whole media team.
it's like you now have the tools at your disposal to produce your own TV show, and YouTube is just
You
that
do.
TV network.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, like, there's always this debate between like what is YouTube, right? It's people argue that like high production quality has no value on YouTube, that it's more for raw content, and then there's the other side of it that says like high production value definitely has value there, and I think like I don't know, I think like everything has its place, and it's a bit of a mix, and that's kind of what I try and have my content be, right? I just try to make the content that I really love fucking making, you know? Like I absolutely love seeing this orange beautiful background. I
It's
love it.
what nice light right here too.
There are very few things in my YouTube process that will make me more mad than whenever I go to post and come on. And it looks like that.
It doesn't look as good.
There's nothing that will make me more angry. It doesn't change the value of the content. It doesn't even change like how a viewer is going to view the content. But it makes me so angry. Like it just looks so much worse. I love the way it looks and the way it feels and all of it. Like everything is very, very intentional. Like Kimmy tells me a bunch of times on the videos that I've forced her to see, like there's too many shadows in my face. I'm like, that's intentional.
I put those shadows there.
I like that look. In my last studio, I did put those shadows there. I don't know if you know this, but off to the side about here, I had a big black, they have those reflectors. That almost went somewhere weird. Those reflectors, they have like a black side to them. I had that right up against me because it pulls the light away. So I actually added shadows to that side of my face. So it was intentional. But when he was 18 years old, he followed real estate. Sorry, I don't understand. But I appreciate you being here.
Oh, I think it might be going back to like kind of like starting over.
Oh, yeah.
That would be something too that I'd be interested in.
I would
basically taking my
100% like house hack if I could start over.
yeah.
Granted, I still have the family, right? They didn't say that like you start over with no family. If I started over single though, like 100%.
If I had to like kind of restart and have the opportunity, maybe like career change, I could probably take a lot of the marketing principles and things that I've learned over the last 6 years or so and apply that to something in real estate. And I think that would be a reasonable time to consider doing that.
Yep. Another one that I thought was interesting, and I'm actually struggling with the video topic for this right now, is the title of the post was, "When do you consider yourself a millionaire?"
I consider it when I got it in the bank.
So if you had $1 million in real estate, you would not consider yourself a millionaire.
Only once it's in the bank account.
So you plan to keep $1 million in the bank account?
Well, it would be an investment account.
Okay, Andre Gique. So how is your real estate portfolio different from your investment account?
I look at it, I mean, if I have equity of $1 million,
right, then
I would count it. But not necessarily. I wouldn't look at it as, if I have a $200,000 house, but I only have $80,000 worth of equity, I wouldn't count it as.
Right, you wouldn't count your controlling dollar value. You'd count your equity dollar value.
Right.
Yeah, which would effectively be your net worth number.
So yeah, it would be equity in the property, as well as whatever I have invested in my taxable account, or even like IRA, which is my emergency fund.
Yeah, would you
now.
Count your non-taxable accounts?
Like IRAs and things.
Yeah, IRA, traditional IRA, SEP,
Yeah.
401k. Yeah, me too. Like lots of people do this lots of different ways. For me, like it's just like my net worth. If it's over $1 million, then I can technically call myself a millionaire. Now, there's lots of different types of millionaires, right? Because, as you know, I'm technically a millionaire, but not really. So,
Yeah,
like,
it depends how you define it.
that's where it gets a little bit weird. Because defined based on net worth, I am a millionaire. I'm worth about like $2.7 million, right? But 2.4 million of that or something like that is tied up in private equity that I can't actually liquidate in any way. So yes, I'm a millionaire and I would consider myself a millionaire, but at the same time, like there's no possible, even if I wanted to, change in lifestyle to live the quote unquote millionaire lifestyle, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I guess
So
I would accept that title once I'm like $1 million liquid, if I wanted to.
so liquid net worth.
Liquid, wet net worth,
Wet worth. Okay.
wet worth.
So $1 million in wet worth.
It's the new definition.
No, and I get that too. I don't care too much about the liquidity of it. Like, also, I don't really care too much about it until I'm in like the deca millionaire range, anyways. To even like use the title, I don't personally think like millionaire is all that fucking special anymore.
Not anymore.
Like,
Not anymore.
I feel like everyone's a millionaire. I know that's not true, but I feel like it is.
And it depends how you define it too. Like it.
Yeah, like I saw an article the other day, like talking, and I didn't read it. I just read the headlines, like I do most articles. But it posed the question of like, how long until the average American is a millionaire? You know, with inflation and everything, it's bound to happen eventually. That's why becoming a millionaire is a lot more attainable now than it was before, because it's just like it's closer to the average now.
Right.
Anyways, I thought those questions were interesting.
No, I like those.
Got me thinking a
I
little
like
bit.
those are two good exercises.
Yeah, I definitely I thought the starting over one was a very interesting question to ask guests. I'd be very curious about that. Yeah,
I think so too.
if anyone listening listened to the last episode with Jason, I'd love to hear your thoughts, because I've now watched it like 3 or 4 times because we're trying to like extract some content from it. But it was a good podcast. It was a good discussion. I really enjoyed that a lot.
And Jason has the podcast background, so he was naturally a very good guest.
Exactly. Yeah, he was much better at our podcast than we are.
Yeah.
I'm excited to have some more guests on now that we like figured it out.
Yeah. And we're potentially streaming at 1080 right now, so it's
We
at least
are streaming at 1080.
now you can look at our bullshit instead of just listen to it.
Stream status excellent. Yeah. It drives me a little bit insane because every time I just kind of ripped the audio from this this file that I get, and the worst part of it is because it stutters on the intro. The audio stutters in our podcast now, so like there's no reason for stuttering there, and I'm just too lazy to go and overlay the actual audio, but it does.
Oh.
I've been focusing a lot less on our actual podcast and a lot more on the YouTube channel. So if you're listening to us on the podcast right now via audio, go check out our YouTube channel, link in the description. We live stream every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And this way you get to see our horribly ugly faces and watch us drink the whiskey that you only get to listen to us here do right now. So
Yeah.
it's well
And
worth it.
usually
Well
the
worth it.
show becomes much more interesting as it goes on.
Yes.
Because of the amount of whiskey consumed.
Oh, the other thing we were going to mention was our Discord. So we've had this Discord set up for a while, the Financial Illiterates Discord. I basically just use it for like my close friends at this point.
Well, we switched from Slack. We were in Slack for the longest time.
We were in Slack for a long time. Then like Slack's just awful. And all my work stuff is in Slack, and I want to stay out of it. Discord's great. So we have the Financial Illiterates Discord. I'll put a link in the description if anyone wants to join. It's open invite to join. I'm hoping that we can start talking about more finance and things like that. But also, you and I typically like hang out, or some people hang out after the podcast, after we've been drinking too much to remain on YouTube Live. But I thought maybe hanging out in that general chat room could be an interesting place to do it, as sort of the like after the podcast sort of randomness. You know, they have those voice/video rooms that you can just hang out in. Could be a good spot to do it if people are interested. Like I said, link is in the description on the podcast and on YouTube. But yeah, man. I mean, what else is going on?
I don't know. It felt good to publish a video today.
It
felt really good.
I was so excited whenever I saw that you were publishing a video. He's back.
Thank you.
He's back.
I mean, it's like, it really was nothing special. I filmed that when I went to go gas up the FJ, but I was like, well, it was more of just like, I'm going to force myself to make something.
You should. And I feel like that's what you got to do, right? Like you just got to keep, if you want the YouTube channel to turn into something, like you just got to keep making. And
the thing is, like, I've enjoyed making video.
Yep.
It's always just been like a creative release, or if anything, like a therapeutic thing. Because sometimes the jobs can be monotonous, and like I was making videos while I was in school.
I had a
jobs are phenomenal.
3-hour meeting today. Do you know what we decided?
That's it? Just 3 hours?
Do you know what the decision we made was? Nothing.
You're not going to do the thing.
The decision we made was we're going to post all the options in Slack and we'll think about it.
Decisions were made to not make a decision.
I do understand monotonous meetings. I get that.
I mean, not even
we're going
like,
through that,
I guess, monotonous tasks.
I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh man, I need to get working on this business and that business and like this other thing. Like I need to get the freedom, man. The freedom needs to show up.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm so excited to like hit monetization in YouTube. I know it's like not gonna be big for like a long time, right? Like my target is really like 100,000 subscribers before it gets super interesting, but like anything is going to be like worth it, you know?
And I mean, you've gotten a lot of traction over the last 7 to 10 days. So
yeah. And it's cool.
It's good.
The thing that I really wanted to see that I did end up seeing, that was important to me was my video that didn't get blown up. The one I released this past Monday, the one about leaving California. I wanted to see it do at least 2 times better than the average video did at pretty much all the hours of the
because you 2 times subscribers.
Because I had 2 times subscribers, and I wanted to see that those subscribers were active and it made a difference, and it did. So it's still on day 2, hour 6. It's still number 1 of 10 at 154 views versus the MeetKevin one at this point in time was 48 views. So it's 110 views over what the typical video, and the MeetKevin video was a good performing video even to that point. So it's over that. So it's looking great. So I just got to keep pushing. You know, we're at 494 subscribers now. So I've gained like 6 in this conversation. And it's like that's a really weird feeling so far, is like most of the time when I go to my phone and I refresh YouTube Studio, it will be a new number. That was not a thing before. Like before Kevin blew this video up, I had gained 6 subscribers in the last 28 days and I was stoked. I just gained 6 in this call.
Yeah, that's something to celebrate.
It's nuts, man. I mean, that's what we're doing here. We're
Celebrating.
We get your channel moving too, man. Moving and grooving. We need to get all these channels monetized so we can turn this into like our full-time gig. This would be the best full-time gig in the world.
Imagine this going. I still like the day where it's, a 4% withdrawal rate on a $6 million investment.
Well, yeah, but we got to get the $6 million accrued. The question is, how can we we accrue the $6 million without hating our jobs? You know,
It's part of the game.
Like, that's why some of these like quote unquote like lifestyle businesses that I've been working on lately are like fairly interesting to me because they're like a decent investment up front, but fairly low maintenance investment. But they have recurring revenue, which is really interesting. And I sent you that tweet earlier by was that by Ryan Hoover? I think it was. I don't know. Did you see that tweet?
I don't know if I saw that one.
All right, well, let me pull it up. It was here it is. Oh, by Ben Ornstein. He's a Ruby guy. But he's basically saying if you add $5,000 of annual recurring revenue, monthly recurring revenue, you basically increase the value of your company by $300,000. And he's like, there's a bunch of hand waving and like assumptions in here, but basically if you add $5,000 in monthly revenue, you added $60,000 in annual revenue. And typically SaaS businesses sell for approximately 3 to 6 times their annual revenue. So if you take a 5 multiple on that, it's $300,000.
Yep.
So, you know, like
it's
like,
napkin math, but it works.
Yeah, like some of these like lifestyle businesses are interesting from the like recurring revenue perspective, but they're also interesting from that perspective of like building up some value and selling it, right? A lot of these businesses I've been working on are interesting purchases for one particular company that I'm familiar with. So like it's interesting from that perspective too, because like, you know, you get $300,000 and split it 3 ways, and we made $100,000 on just building a business, you know, and then it's no maintenance costs going forward. So
it's money in the bank to invest.
Yeah, I mean that's the struggle. I feel like that's the struggle, and that's where the like that's where the grind and the hustle come in, and the just like desire to have it so much that you don't care what it takes. That's like, you know, we were having a conversation about the whole eat shit thing from GaryVee the other day. Like, I think that's where it is, right? There's this period where like you have a paid job and it pays the bills. And then you also have this like $3 to $6 million in the bank where you can withdraw 4% from, right? Then you have this gap in between where you can't achieve this by doing this. So you have to do other things and create other things in this window. But this is already taking up all of your time. So you have to figure out how to make it happen. Like how to make those things get created and put the work in this section. That's the eating shit part, so that you can have this. That I think is the interesting section that I've been in for the last like 2 years. And the section that I think you're in now as well, that's like, it's tiring and exhausting and horrible, but like, if we don't do it, we don't get here. We're stuck.
Yeah.
Fucking stuck.
And that's like,
and there's nothing,
and that's
there's
like
no feeling I hate more than being stuck.
Just like the spinning wheels. That's what it feels like.
Like, if I hate being stuck so much that if someone told me that I could have one of 2 things, I could have to stay at my job at GoDaddy, which I don't hate. But it's a job and I have a boss. That was one option. I have to stay there for the rest of my career. Or I could take my entire net worth and put it on the flip of a coin. And if it hits, I will have the money that I needed for that goal. I'd do that in a heartbeat. And
there's the risk, yeah.
Well, and I think that's where my risk tolerance comes in, right? Because I know if I'm risk adverse, I'm never going to fucking get there. Or if I am, it's going to take too damn long. Like, I don't know. Did you watch the Iced Coffee Hour with Andre Gide?
I haven't yet.
So I told you a bit about it, but he's got $1 million in the bank account right now, right? He's got basically like a $250,000 stock portfolio, but then he's got $1 million in the bank account from his YouTube income. And it's literally just sitting in the bank. And there's a few reasons for it, but watching that and consuming a lot of his content, like he's the most risk adverse finance YouTuber that I watch. And watching that just like reiterated more to me like how different I am from him. Because there's 0% chance that $1 million would not be fully invested. 0%.
Especially with the market. Especially with the market.
I don't even give a shit what the market's doing. 0% chance it wouldn't be invested in something.
Yeah.
And like the way I look at it is, and like I should call out that he's got a lot more modest goals than I do too, right? You know, he's like not too far off from being able to have the investment account that pays the dividends that covers his required amount, you know? So all that's to say, I guess, like I've been like on a bit of a journey over the last like couple of months, like learning more about my risk tolerance. And I think I'm like starting to understand it a bit more. And I think that's a big part of it is I just feel like that if I'm not taking massive risks, I'm not ever going to get there. That's why I'm okay, like having no emergency fund and backing it all with debt. Because it puts me one step closer to possibly getting there. Or possibly going bankrupt. I'd rather go bankrupt.
At what age would you absolutely not want to go bankrupt, though?
There's not.
Like, where does that?
I don't think there is one. I don't.
Really?
I don't understand how age plays into it.
For me, I'm like, I'm not trying to start from zero and live off of $5,000 when I'm like 45, 50 years old, even 40.
For me, though, having a job for someone is zero. I'm at zero already. I'm trying to figure out how to get to one. Like, that's the way I look at it. Getting another job, you can get another job. You could live off of freaking Social Security, man. Like, the like opportunities to get free money from the government when you're old are endless.
Yeah, but the level of care at that point is like pretty abysmal.
Yeah, but if I'm that old and I haven't made it to one yet, I don't really give a shit anyways.
At that point, you're giving up at that point?
Not giving up, but like I don't see my mindset changing there. I would still rather take massive risks to potentially make it somewhere than to just be happy going nowhere. I'll never be happy going nowhere.
Yeah.
Now there's a level of net worth, you know, like we discussed last week. When I hit that number where we can withdraw from, that account is not to be touched.
Yeah, like there's a wealth preservation point.
But that amount is not to be touched. And currently, this is one that I think could change over time. Anything above that amount, like I said in the last podcast, is like playing with house money. And I do believe that I will play that way for a long period of time. I don't know what the number is. You know, like the way I play in Vegas, right? Put $1,000. I decide to gamble $1,000. When I get up 50 to 100% of that value, I will take that initial $1,000 and I will put it in my pocket and I will not touch it. I take that money off the table. That's the $3 million investment account in my mind, right? We can live off that money. I can't touch it anymore. And then I have more. At a certain point, you get up high enough that you want to rake some chips off the table and like guarantee some profits, right? What I don't know is once I pass that in like this real world game of money, what that number is at which I will rake in some chips and consider the rest house money in that locked in profits. That's what I don't know. Like, is that another million? Is it another 3? Is it another 10? Is it another 100? I don't know what it is.
So there is a point where you'll hit wealth preservation. Like you basically would not allow yourself to go to zero again.
The second I can have an account that will pay our bills entirely is getting put in its own separate account that is designed to just do that. Now, for a long period of time, I probably won't withdraw from it. So any excess in that will basically be paid out to me that I don't have to spend. So it will get invested elsewhere, right? I'll take it out of this investment account and put it into another investment account effectively. So I'm building up the house money portion of it.
Yeah. That makes sense.
That's the plan, at least.
Yeah.
You know things about best laid plans and all. But yeah, there's definitely a point. Like once I reach financial freedom, I don't understand the point in risking it. Good call. I don't understand the point in risking that. Like that has been like my life's work so far, you know?
I mean, it really enables you to do the things that you love and take care of yourself and your family while doing the things that you love. And
I should say,
I think that's what we both talked about is freedom.
And the interesting thing about building up that account, right? So let's imagine I get my $4 million account, right? I put it into a separate taxable M1 Finance account that I allow myself to withdraw 4% annually from. That separate taxable M1 account at $4 million gives me a $1.4 million M1 borrow credit line. Right? So just because I won't touch that account doesn't mean I won't necessarily borrow against it. Probably wouldn't borrow $1.4 million against it, but if I still had a stable job, I might. You know, like I will leverage the money without just outright spending the money to increase the other side of the investment portfolio. Right? Like if I could take that $1.4 million and buy like, what is that, like 17, 18 properties, single family homes, right, in Florida, I would do that. Like those are pretty damn safe bets. And then over time, I will pay that back with the income from those and do it all over again. So like I'm not against borrowing against it, but I will not be like I won't be, let me rephrase, I won't be risking that money.
Right.
There will be some risk applied to the money. Like I think it would be stupid to have, like if you got up to $3 million and like the second you got $3 million, you put it in an account and you couldn't do anything with the money except for take 4% out. Well, then like if you think about it, like you're almost starting backwards from where you were. Right? You need to be able to leverage it in some way. Otherwise, like you have this like growth curve that's like up and then it's like back down here. And then you have to start the growth curve again. Like I want it more to look like up and then it's like a little bit of a slowdown and then back up. That's more what I would hope to manage the growth curve to.
Yeah.
It's a very like technical way of thinking about it, but that's kind of the way I think about it.
I actually never thought about using that portfolio line of credit. Like after you do have that.
That's all I think about in anything I do now. That portfolio line of credit and lines of credit in general, I think are like one of the most eye-opening things I've learned about this year.
It like once you hit a certain threshold, like those lines of credit do become extremely valuable tools.
Mm-hmm. This is the reason I think like, I mean, I know you guys are in a place that like, you're not sure how long you'll be there and all this and that. And you're also in a very high cost area, but buying a house makes sense just from a HELOC perspective.
Yeah.
You know, like our HELOC is maxed out right now, but that's because we got a 25% loan and then we put 20% on a HELOC so that we could effectively put 5% down. But my HELOC value is $117,000. So like when I do get that paid down, which is going to take a long time, or if I could have put 20% down, you know, I have like $100,000 in a credit line. And that credit line is about 7% interest right now. So not super low, but not super high either. Yeah, credit lines, man. Those are freaking fascinating.
They're tools of the wealthy, and they're really only
They
available to
are.
those with money.
They are. Yeah. And I like first learned about them in the wealth management index, and I don't think I truly understood the power of them until I started like using it a bit myself. Like this house we just bought in Florida. I technically bought that almost entirely on debt. Like I think I technically put like $10,000 down on a $200,000 house, $250,000 house, because
Well,
most
we
of
use
it was from
good
my
debt.
borrow line. Well, I used good debt and I knew I could back it, right? Like the
Yeah.
important thing about this house in Florida was, and still actually is that if I absolutely had to, in an absolute worst case situation, I could pay for the whole house in cash. I would have to sell almost my entire investment portfolio and everything to make that happen. And I don't think that's a realistic situation because we just sell the house, but I could do it if I needed to. That was an important thing to me on our first real estate investment deal because there's the real risk of like when we transfer the property into the LLC, it triggers the due on sale clause, even though the way we have it structured is not supposed to, right? So like,
Yeah.
there's a chance that the mortgage company's like, "Hey, dude, you owe us $200,000." What I don't
Yeah.
want to
No.
happen is that to lead to bankruptcy, right? So like, I'm being super careful in this first one as we learn things, and then we can loosen that up over time. So see, like, I think sometimes I portray like a really risk tolerant, like a really high level of risk, but it's all extremely calculated risk.
Yeah. It's not roulette.
No, I haven't played. I haven't played online gambling since that day.
I feel like last week and the week before there was a lot of poker and roulette talk. This week, not so
So,
much.
so what I realized about that is it's a lot like day trading. I When I was getting into day trading, I had convinced myself that like I can learn this thing, this can be my new income source, this and that. It took a lot of hours to basically learn how to break even or lose money. And what I realized is it's going to take actual years of that with high number of hours invested to be able to even consider getting close to an income replacement. So what my brain had like wrapped around as like a short-term win was actually a very long-term win. So like I love playing poker and the theory of poker is very interesting, but I need to control and tone down the amount of hours I put into it and invest in it like it's a hobby game rather than it's a potential income generator. That's the same thing I did with day trading, right? Like I still once in a while make like option trades and stuff like that because I think it's fun and interesting and exciting. But I don't spend the hours that I used to spend on day trading anymore because it's not the right risk to reward ratio. Like the right risk to reward ratio is me spending time on building a software business. That's something that I think is highly probable to succeed and something that I know very well, right? Like the GB toolkit, right? Like we need to get that up and out and launched and see what happens. It could very well flop, but the amount of time invested is actually significantly lower than learning to day trade or learning to play poker well. Because the knowledge is already there. It's just execution of an idea.
Right. And it goes back to one of those SaaS businesses that we were talking about.
Exactly, right? It's playing into your strengths too. Like if you look at the strengths that we have, that sort of business plays right into it.
Yeah.
It's like that is literally what our strengths are. So like why not build something that plays to that? And the goal doesn't have to be a VC backed multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar company. It could just be like the goal is to make $200,000 a year
With this one tool
right.
that we built.
Exactly. And then you move on to the next tool, or you add more tools onto it. You add this app and that app. And, like I also think like there's the real possibility for me that I get into another like VC backed big company type startup at some point in the next couple of years. And part of me wants to make sure that I'm not committing myself to things that are going to preclude me from doing that or the thing I committed to, right?
Right.
So like these quote unquote lifestyle businesses, those are things that I can see myself managing alongside a full-time job of starting another company, right? Starting two VC backed type companies, that's not something that you can commit to at the same time. I mean, there's very, very few people in the history of the world that have been able to pull that off, and Elon Musk is the only one that comes top of mind. Like, some people may jump in and say Jack Dorsey, but I would argue that he has not successfully done that. Like, yes, both
Yeah.
companies are still alive, but have they really thrived as much as they could have if he focused on just one? Probably
I
not.
think Elon's like the 0.0001%.
Yeah, Elon Musk is a unique case, and I don't want to like assume that I am as skilled as him. I do believe that I can run multiple businesses, but I don't believe they can all be equally large businesses.
Yeah. Can't be running a Spesla.
Asbestos? Asbestos? What? Huh?
A
What kind of business are
Spesla?
you starting?
A Spesla and a Tay-Sex?
Hey, cheers! I'm on to the rendezvous now
It only took
because I got this
six.
sad thing.
Oh, man.
I'm finishing off bottles right and left. I finished off that American whiskey last night. I will not be buying that again.
I think one of my like tried and trues, Buffalo Trace.
You know, I was gonna buy Buffalo Trace last time I was at the store because the recipe I saw actually like they said use Buffalo Trace because it's like a standard go-to. But I saw the price and I'm like,
Yeah.
you must be crazy. They were like,
How much?
I want to say they were charging $50.
Oh, no, no, no. This is not a $50 bottle.
No, it shouldn't be. And this place was. So I got the Four Roses, which was 30.
Mm.
And Four Roses is a good bourbon.
This is usually like a 30.
Yeah, that's what I expected. So like I don't know if it was in the wrong spot, mislabeled or what, but like it was astonishing when that happened. So I don't know that I've ever actually had just Buffalo Trace by itself. I'm sure I've had it in a mixed drink somewhere, but I've not had it by itself.
I wonder, something I haven't researched or have had the need to research, but how alcohol prices vary by region.
Heavily.
Like, is there a chance that this could be more expensive on the East Coast versus the West
100%.
Coast?
Yeah, it's very likely.
Interesting.
Yeah, they vary heavily. So much so that like the Whiskey Tribe, that YouTube channel that I watch, very often when they talk about prices, they just avoid talking about prices and they just talk in terms of like expensive to non-expensive.
Yeah, because there is such a variation. That makes sense.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, let me see. Buffalo Trace.
I'm so happy with the quality of our stream. It's been going really well. Now the only issue is that my network is a little slower than it should be for streaming 1080, so I just need to get hardwired, which I need to do anyways, but speed
So
YouTube uploads.
Buffalo Trace out here is $22.
Wow, that's insane.
So yeah, that's where I was like, yeah, it's not that expensive.
Yeah, I definitely would have bought that if that was the case. I don't even know like how I would find that out here, to be honest. So I'm not even gonna bother. But yeah. So we've talked about a bunch of stuff. Yeah, risk is something that I think I've been like sort of digging in deep into, like trying to understand where it comes from, why certain people are risk tolerant, why certain people are risk adverse, and like understanding where my risk level comes from. Something I'm spending a lot of time on because I think it's very interesting. Well, one, I think my risk tolerance is actually a huge unique, I don't know the right word for this, but a unique attribute of mine in the finance YouTube space. I think like MeetKevin has a similar sort of risk tolerance to me, and I think that's what makes some of his content very very much unique in the space, because I think the space is full of a lot of very risk adverse advice, and I don't know if that's necessarily because the people are risk adverse. I think it is. I think Graham Stephan is fairly risk adverse. Andre Geic is extremely risk adverse, and so the advice and the content and the culture in the finance YouTube space, and like you see this in the FIRE community as well, is very risk adverse, right? Like almost no one will tell you to pick individual stocks. I have a whole section of my portfolio dedicated to individual stocks because the returns on them are significantly higher. Yes, the risk is higher, but like you don't see that in the finance YouTube space. So I think like my risk tolerance is actually a unique attribute that I have in the finance YouTube space. So I've been trying to understand it a bit more, so I can explain it a bit better and like properly like inform people, so they don't just go do stuff that makes them like stress out of their minds, you know? Like I don't want to post
great
a YouTube video,
content.
Like I don't want to post a YouTube video that says like go liquidate your emergency fund and use credit lines, and then like people do that and they're like stressed out of their minds about an emergency, right? Like that's not the point. Like I'm not nervous about an emergency at all, because like I have made myself comfortable with the fact that I can cover it and handle it.
Yeah. But I think you're at the point, you have so much invested that your credit lines can cover an emergency.
To be fair, just my credit cards could cover the emergency. It would be an expensive emergency.
Yeah.
Because it's like an average of like a 23% interest rate, but they could cover it.
Yeah. It's like if you couldn't use credit cards, and then your credit lines could.
Yeah. Which my credit line will be my default because of the low interest rate on it, but yeah, no, I think it's a very valid strategy, even for people with not a significantly high account value, but it's a lot higher risk.
Yeah.
You know, it just is. But
when you have the big goals, you need to take big risks.
It's also not any higher risk than the majority of America is currently taking by not having any emergency fund at all.
Oh, right.
I'm basically just intentionally doing what the rest of America is unintentionally doing. If you really think about it, that's all I'm doing.
The thing is, either way, you could back it up more than most of America.
Some of them might be able to with proper credit cards.
Yeah.
You know, no one like looks at credit cards as an acceptable means of paying for emergencies.
It's an emergency option.
Yeah. It's the last emergency option. Well, not the last.
Yeah.
I don't think. No, actually, it would be the last. I would sell my stocks before I use my credit cards.
How come?
Because of the cost. My stocks are going to make me on average 8 to 10% a year. So the cost of them, of selling them, is 8 to 10% a year. My credit cards cost me 20% a year.
Yeah, that is true.
It's cheaper. When it comes to an emergency, it's just figuring out the cheapest thing. Cash in a bank is the cheapest option because you're losing out on very little. At Ally, I'd be losing out on 0.6%, right? So it cost me 0.6% to use that money. And then my borrow line is 2%. And then selling assets is 8 to 10%. And then credit card is 20%.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the way to think about it, and that's the way I think about it. The problem is most of the people think of an emergency fund as only the bank account, and that's it. I've just included mine to add everything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when you have a real emergency, like you don't say, "Sorry, hun, we can't cover that emergency because we don't have the cash for it." What about that $150,000 stock portfolio you always talk about? That's not part of the emergency fund, though.
That's not an option.
Sorry. That's not how an emergency works. So if anything, I feel like I'm actually just treating my emergency fund a little more realistically.
Yeah. You have it you have your emergency fund actually working for you.
Yep.
And not just sitting there.
So, anyways, it's probably about time to wrap up the main section of the podcast, and we can jump into the after hours section of the podcast. If you'd like to check it out, check out the Discord link in the description. Probably tomorrow. Oh, wow, we've been on this for an hour 20. No wonder it feels long. Oh, wow. Link in the description, probably tomorrow, because I never get to editing these at night, because last time we stayed to the after hours, I went to bed at like 12:45. So
there were some after hours.
It was tomorrow hours is what it was. So check out the description tomorrow. We will see you guys next time. Like, subscribe, do all the things. If this podcast was interesting to you at all, I'd love it if you shared it with people. And check out our YouTube channels. Justin to Driving over there. Trobrock over here. Trobrock on Twitter. Gus and Jabriel on Twitter. And we'll see you guys next time, I guess. Also, thank you again, Brian's Boring Life 87, for showing up and being
thank you.
The very first viewer of this podcast that we didn't know. So, good job.
Also,
man.
use code ANDO227 on Yada Bank if you're going to sign up.
But you have to watch the last couple episodes to understand what that means, so don't really do it. We'll see you guys next
context.
time. Let's see if this outro works.